All right. Let's go ahead and take a moment to copy this down. Again, this is on the website, Southeast Asia. However, I want you to put it on paper to pencil here. Flex your mental muscles a little bit while you write it down. Maybe give you an opportunity to write down a few other things off to the side. Okay, but it is posted on the site in case you happen to need a quick reference back to it every once in a while. Okay, good test material right here. Okay, when we think about the Chinese dynasties, there are many dynasties, and they encompass thousands of years. It goes all the way back to the Roman Empire. It even goes back farther than that. Okay, there are two river valleys in China where these early civilizations developed around. You may write these two rivers. We talked about the Tigris and Euphrates with Mesopotamia and the Fertile Crescent, right? These two rivers in China, it's called the Yellow River. It's an easy one, right? It's not really in a Chinese language. Yellow River. And then there's the other one, this Yangtze River. Y-A-N-G-T-Z-E. Yangtze. Okay? Yellow and Yangtze. Yangtze, Y-A-N-G-T-Z-E. Okay? Now, I want to refresh your memory on how to become an advanced civilization, right? So they're hunting and gathering type of people in this particular area of the world, right? Then they come to the rivers because the rivers give them opportunity to have that first step. What's that first step to becoming an advanced civilization? You got to have this. You got to have the domestication of plants and animals, right? And rivers allows you to do that because of access. The flooding of the rivers gives fertile soil so you can grow crops. And then you have water accessible for the domestication of animals there as well. Sound good? So it's really important. Okay? Domestication of plants and animals, then what do you have? What's the next step? The third level. As a result of domestication of plants and animals, you get?
People.
Well, before you get people, you got to have this. You got food, large food supply. Right? You have a readily available food supply because of the domesticated plants and animals. Large food supply, then you get what? People. All right, you get a large population. When you get a large population, does everybody have to be a farmer anymore? No. All right, so you get this. What's the next step? Not everybody has to be a farmer. Then you can have other jobs. You can have, what do we call that?
Time. Oh, no. Advanced jobation.
Yeah, advanced jobation.
Good job, Avery.
That's what we're going to use for the remainder of the semester and the remainder of the year. That terminology, advanced jobation.
Welcome, guys.
Specialization of skills. Specialization of skills. Not bad, Miss Rosinski. I like the creativity there. But we're going to use specialization of skills. Sound good?
It works, I guess.
All right? Not bad. It works. I guess we'll have to revert to that. With specialization of skills, you get what variable, Ms. Oaks? You get time. Right? More time to innovate, more time to create. Okay? So, the earliest of the Chinese dynasties, the first one that we're going to say was the first. There's actually one that's kind of controversial that maybe have preceded this one. This is the Shang dynasty is the one we're going to say is the first. Sound good? Like, organized the settlements that are around the Yellow and the Yangtze River, and they created a loose type empire there. Sound good? But fairly small, fairly weak. But we're going to say it's the first Shang dynasty. Sound good? Okay. With a dynasty, you have an emperor, right? And then that emperor is going to pass their power down to the next generation, right? And somebody in their families, after they die, is going to become the next emperor, okay? So the concept here that we need to make sure that we identify that's key when understanding all of these dynasties is this concept called the mandate of heaven. It's right there in the middle of our cycle. Sound good? It's got a question mark next to it. Okay. The question mark is implying, do you have, as a family that is leading the Chinese people, do you have the mandate? Okay. You need to write out to decide what the mandate is. A mandate is a right to rule. It's not some type of material objects that you obtain. It's this non-material, abstract idea that you acquire. Sound good? Do I have the right to rule? Does my family have the right to rule? All right. When you are the emperor, it is assumed by the surrounding Chinese people. It is assumed that your family has the right to rule. Who gives the right to rule? Anybody have any ideas? Who gives out that right?
The
Church leader.
Government's a good guess. Church leader, you're getting closer when you think about religion. You got to think about the culture of China. What is the belief system that dominates? A lot of these indigenous populations, we talked about this belief system in Africa.
Buddha.
No, good try. Not Islam, good try. Yes.
Hindu.
Not Hinduism, good try. That's India. Was that? Begins with an A.
Afghanistan.
Nope, good try. That's a country.
Is it atheist?
No, that would be the absence of belief system. So this is ancestral worship. Ancestral worship. You need to make sure that you write that out to the side. Okay? So you guys have seen Mulan, right?
Yeah.
Right? When it hit the gong and then these like ghost-like figures come out of these statues. That's reflective of this. Those are like their ancestors. It's, creatively depicted there. Ancestral worship. They're praying to their ancestral gods, and they are going to intervene on their behalf. Most of the time, it's based upon like agricultural type of things. Okay, weather. Right. So where do you get the mandate? The ancestral gods, according to their cultural belief system, is going to give them the right to rule. Sound good? That's if everybody's on the same page, then you wouldn't undermine the authority of that particular family if they have the mandate, because the idea there would be you're undermining the authority of the ancestral gods. Okay? It's depicted there, Mulan is an example. It's depicted in, what's that one, the new one, Moana. That's ancestral spirits, right? That's ancestral gods there. I even watched the movie the other night. It's got Pandora is the location. What's the blue figures, the indigenous population?
Avatar.
No, Avatar. In Avatar, the indigenous population on that planet, it's ancestral worship is what it is. All right? Is what they're practicing there. Okay? That's what's depicted there. Okay? So it's actually more common than what you would. A lot of times we use the word ancestral spirit and we think, well, that's something foreign. I've never heard of it. You see it all the time in the movies that you watch. Okay? All right. So the equivalent, I want you to think about the European equivalent for a second with this idea of the mandate. In Europe, in the feudalistic time periods in Western Europe, they had this concept of divine right. So you may write divine right out to the side. Okay? So with Western European culture, what's the belief system? No, good try. Western European, after the fall of the Roman Empire, Western Roman culture acquired this belief system. It dominated Western Europe. This institution became one of the most powerful institutions in the world because of what happened after the fall of the Western Roman Empire. Crusades is a part of it. Yeah, Christianity, right? So with this Western Europeans and the monarchs there, they had this concept of the divine right. These kings were believed to be in power because they were chosen by the Christian God to be in that particular spot. Right? So you didn't undermine the authority of the king, because essentially you would be undermining the authority of the Christian God then. Does everybody see how that relationship works? So in China, they don't undermine the authority of the emperor because the assumption is that you're undermining the authority of the ancestral gods then. Right? So it keeps everybody at bay from protesting all the time. Sound good? Okay, but it's all, again, contingent upon the norms of the culture in which this is taking place. Okay? All right. So let's start here at Old Dynasty. So we're going to say the Shang family has been in place for a long, long time. Okay? Over the course of time, inevitably, bad things are going to pop up. Right? They're going to run into some problems, going to have some struggles, okay? So, sometimes they got to raise taxes for some of the public works projects that they've done in the past. Do people like taxes? No. So people are going to get a little bit unruly because of the taxes, right? They're not going to necessarily fully trust the imperial family because of that, okay? There may be a little bit of corruption going on. The imperial family may be perceived as, taking care of themselves rather than taking into consideration the Chinese people, right, that they're ruling over. So there may be a little bit of a loss of trust in that. So the question is, do they really still have the mandate? So in that time period, when more and more bad stuff happens, this idea is the mandate, they're losing the mandate of heaven, okay? Then some really bad stuff may start happening, like weather-related stuff, things that are outside of their control. But they'll see it as signs saying that the imperial family has truly lost the mandate. Droughts, right? Bad years of crops, okay? Low crop yields. War, right? That may be a little bit more related to under their control, okay? But the idea is that the mandate, they say it's shifted away from that particular family. Sometimes it shifts away from that family, and then it takes a little while for another family to acquire the mandate, okay? But eventually another family will acquire that mandate. You know, good things are happening for them. They're rising up in a powerful position. And so everybody looks and says, they obviously have the mandate. The ancestral gods are choosing this family to rule then, okay? So it starts over, right? They have a period of, success, and they do a lot of good things. They bring peace, and then a lot of times they have a lot of these public works projects. Sometimes that unifies everybody. So a lot of good times, okay? However, eventually the cycle is going to start over. Conflicts are going to rise. Do they still have the mandate? Bad things happen. Mandate shifts to another family. Okay? So, if you look at the list for our dynasty poster assignment today, we've got about 9 to 12 Chinese dynasties to choose from. So the idea here is that they've gone through this cycle 9 to 12 times. Sound good? All right. So when you look at the dynasties, want to make sure that you understand this concept of mandate of heaven in the dynastic cycle. It really helps you to better understand Chinese history a little bit there. Sound good? Any questions? Nope? All right, let's get to our poster assignment. It's very short. Actually, let me leave that off for a second. All right, up here at the top, it says Dynasty Poster Guidelines. Everybody see that? Click on that. It says choose one of the following Chinese dynasties. There's the Shang is the first, Qing the last, okay? Open a Google slide presentation like this, okay? First thing that you need to do is up here in the untitled presentation box, you need to write 5th hour, and then your name, Torin Duran, okay? And then Dynasty Poster, okay? You need to do that first. Sound good? Make sure it has the number first. Makes it easy for me to organize. I would change the layout. I wouldn't do that layout. I'd do something else. Okay? Maybe get creative there. Now going back to the directions. You need to, on that slide, that's one slide. You're not doing 3 slides. You're doing 1 slide. Alright? You need to put the following. Name of the dynasty, Shang Dynasty. The dates of the dynasty. Where do you find that information? Probably Wikipedia will work just fine on this one to do a little research, okay? Then you need to put 3 pictures of items reflecting that particular dynasty. So we're looking at access or examples of material culture. So like wheelbarrows, gunpowder, the Great Wall, right? Something significant that reflects an accomplishment of that dynasty. So really, what we're looking at is how is the acquisition of time and specialization of skills being demonstrated that particular time period, dynasty there. Sound good? So you're going to put images, 3 images into your Google slide. Then you're going to need to input a short description of each of the 3 pictures underneath. So I would probably go down here to the speaker notes and then write my descriptions of those images down there. You get 3 of them. You need to read. I had a student earlier today, the first thing they did was went to Google Images, and then they started putting that dynasty in there, right? They couldn't find the dates, and then the only thing that they could find was like random images that really didn't follow along with our guidelines here at all. You need to go through Wikipedia, pull up the dynasty, read about the dynasty, get an understanding of the dynasty first, and before you start pulling out some of the artifacts. Sound good? If you don't have that background information, you're going to struggle a little bit. It's kind of like what you did with the DBQs. right? A lot of you guys tried to write the paper without looking at the DBQs. You didn't want to do any research there, that aspect. You need to look at Wikipedia, read through, figure out background information on the dynasty, and then go ahead and complete this. No Chinese characters. Sound good? Everybody, for some reason, wants to put Chinese characters in their dynasty poster. No Chinese characters. Any questions? All right, you got a few minutes to work.